Welcome to Blood in the Snow Radio, where we give you the latest news and interviews with the best in Canadian genre cinema. Here are your hosts, Robert Bellamy and Festival Director Kelly Michael Stewart.
Welcome back to Bits Radio. Kelly Michael Stewart, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm just in recovery mode. We were just at Niagara Falls on the weekend.
And how did that go? Because you did some screenings, didn't you?
Yeah, it's funny because it turned out to be almost like its own mini film festival. This is our second year we've done this with them. And what was extra crazy is that we had a table on the main floor, like just a regular merch booth. And then we had screenings and panels going on upstairs. So we had like a Meet the Bits team one, and then we had a Meet the Filmmakers panel. And then we had 5 films over the whole weekend. We showed Capture, Kill, Release, Heinous Acts, Holy Hell, Evangeline, and 3 Dead Trick-or-Treaters. So,
but it's cool that you bring Bits to that kind of environment because it's such a multicultural, only for the pop culture aspect of it. It mixes so many pop culture events into one room.
Well, yeah, that's what's kind of interesting about them. I've seen like the larger ones like Niagara Falls and Toronto. They bring the guy from The Young and the Restless, and he's next to like wrestlers. I mean, it's kind of they really try and get a bit of everything going. And so, but it's good though, because it kind of like, it gives an opportunity like for us, because really, I don't really know any other festivals that, like, we've been touring quite a few conventions, and we're the only festival that's consistently at all these conventions. Sometimes you'll see them pop up for 1 or 2, but we're doing about 6 or 7 a year now. And that's really kind of where we're making our presence known from a marketing perspective. And it's interesting. It's a strange mixed bag because again, you're seeing people that wouldn't necessarily know about this stuff, but are certainly getting a kick out of it. We're certainly getting new fans every year because of it.
Well, I can honestly say from my side, because I put together CKX in Chatham, I've actually approached a few other festivals, like from London, and I think there was one from Hamilton. But Blood in the Snow is the only one that has actively come out. The other ones say, no, that's not our thing.
Right.
But yet, now living in Chatham, I have had so many people approach me about Blood in the Snow, asking when it is, what's involved, what can they see there, where if you hadn't come to this convention, they would never have known.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was interesting. Because you're in this kind of weird environment, you have very, very unlikely things that happen. And I have 2 really good stories for you that happened that I think you'll get a kick out of. One was at the beginning of the weekend. It was during the screening of Capture, Kill, Release, and we had a pretty good attendance for it. And Capture, Kill was such a strong title for us. And there's one scene in the film where something very unpleasant happens to a cat.
Yes.
And it's funny, you can to be clear, no animal was actually hurt. This is all just, fiction. But it's funny, you can torture and maim and do all these horrible things to humans. Even children, like not as much, but old people or something like that. But once you get involved with an animal or a cat, especially a cat or a dog, look out. It's there at 9 people stood up at the same time and walked out of the and I would never normally do this, but because it was so many people at once, and one of them kind of gave me a bit of a dirty look, and I went, "It's not real." So we're kind of the bad boys of these conventions. I call you that too. The things that you're you got to be warned about. We had to kind of warn people when we played Holy Hell as well. Like,
oh yes,
you will be offended. That kind of thing. And then the weekend ended on a very strange note. And this is the thing, because we're not, the listeners should know, we don't actually play a proper movie theater. It's like a panel room, right? And normally the sound's quite good actually, and projection's quite good. Like it's not bad for a panel room, but you do sometimes hear stuff in the other room. And Marky Ramone was doing his drum clinic in the last half hour of 3 Dead Trick-or-Treaters. So the first hour goes along, and the movie, and what makes it even more bizarre is the film has no dialogue. So it's all just mood and sound effects and stuff. And so imagine that you're watching this silent film for an hour, and then suddenly you're hearing a punk drummer playing at full tilt in the very next room. And I was actually downstairs when it happened, and I got a text from Kirk Haviland, our senior programmer, and he was kind of keeping an eye on things and doing the Q&A. And he said, Marky Ramone has started playing drums in the next, and I went, oh dear. So I went upstairs, and I got handed to Torrin Langdon, the director. He was, and his girlfriend were in the back row laughing because they were like, and he told me, and this shows you what a great attitude he has. He's like, this is great. When would you ever have a punk legend do the soundtrack to your film?
That's what I was just thinking. Tori must have loved it.
He is, because he's such a punk rock guy. So like every once in a while you'd hear like da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, right there. And it had some interesting effects to the film, that the look, the feel of the film. But so I thought that was a funny way. That doesn't happen very often. That was normally if there's a Q&A or something, you don't really hear anything. But that was kind of an odd, and only in the last 20 minutes of the film.
That's awesome.
But we'll be back again, and it was definitely an interesting weekend.
So now I happen to know we have someone from your crew here.
And we have Jen Gorman.
Hi.
Hey Jen, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yes. Are you busy at work at Bit Stuff?
Always.
What?
Yeah, it's a year-round thing, man. It's not. People seem to think because it's a once-a-year festival that maybe a month beforehand we're busy. No, we're busy all year round.
What is your Bit Stuff?
Your role.
Everything. I'm not a programmer.
What's your title now?
I'm the festival coordinator now. It's a change from last year. What was I last year?
The sponsorship
coordinator. This year I am festival coordinator. So a little more responsibility, but
it's interesting. She didn't know her title last year. Do you know what you did last year?
Everything.
You know what? I think she just had a bit of a brain part there, kind of thing like that. Just like, no. Well, that's it. But that, it's funny because we don't really get too hung up on titles and stuff. We just do a lot of stuff for the fest, and actually, Melanie would basically explain. I'm the festival director, and the second command is the festival coordinator. And basically, a more accurate name would be vice president. You know what I mean? So,
I like that.
We should change it to that. Yeah, vice president. But basically, she's taken over for Melanie Turner, who's still one of her main programmers, and she looks after a lot of the social events at the fest and stuff like that. But she decided to reduce her role for various reasons this year a little bit.
Okay.
And just kind of focus on the more, not so much business side of things. And I suggested that Jen has been like really my right-hand person for everything I've done in the last 5 years, everything. It's just like, whether we're also film producing, that's really actually how we started, is we both are film producers together. So we still do that as well. And doing a variety of films. We did One More for the Road. We did Late Night Double Feature. We did Bits TV season 1, Festival Pass season 1 or 2 TV shows. So there's a lot of things that we worked on that, but then organically Jen got more and more involved over the years. It was just sort of like, I actually met Jen at Bits 1 in 2012.
Yeah, that was the first day we met, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
Really funny, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like, came in with, it was actually for the first screening. Was for Sick?
Yeah, it was Sick.
Yeah, that was the first one like that too. And of course, it was such a blur. I don't really remember meeting her until like 3 months later. I think that.
This is interesting because Carol gave the same story. So if you want to be part of the Bits team, this is what you need to do: is attend the festival.
Yeah.
Meet these people.
I would say that's a bare minimum. Yeah.
It's prerequisite number 1. Yes.
Well, I think you and I have talked about this too. I mean, the whole, 80% of success is showing up, and that, like, literally showing up. You have to be there. And, in the very, I met Jen that year. We started producing we did One More for the Road later that year. And then she was helping with, I guess, front of house. It was right off the bat. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I was doing front of house, and then I ended up doing ticketing and front of house. And then just organically, I ended up doing a lot more of the paperwork because in my past life, I was a lawyer.
Gotcha.
So organically, I ended up doing more and more of the business stuff. So, especially when Mel decided to take a little bit of a step back, it kind of made sense.
But the funny thing is, Jen was actually hesitant. It's like, no, I've already have too much on my plate. And I go, Jen, you're already doing the job. Why don't you just acknowledge it? Why don't you just get credit for what you've already been doing? That was kind of the way I pitched it to her.
Just the job title change. That's it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So in a normal day, what does a coordinator do?
The biggest thing is applying for grants. So that's a lot of paperwork stuff, just finding out what grants we'd be applicable for and filling out the paperwork, all that fun stuff. And then there's getting ready for all the conventions that we attend. I mean, there's a lot of preparation involved in that. We also, Robert, I think we just launched, for example, a brand of coffee with Deadly Grounds.
Yes.
There's we've got to hash out the details, how the business and that's going to work, or how our relationship with Black Fawn Distribution is going to work for the Bloody Bits DVDs. So every day there's some kind of random thing that needs to be taken care of, and that's
because
a lot of the time. Yeah,
because the thing is, though, too, like we're saying, like the festival is year round, and so this is why I needed someone like Jen to be like my right-hand person with this, because it's like, because a lot of it too is to kind of keep me on track. Because, for example, like we have a lot of deadlines coming up with like what Jen was saying for funding and stuff. And I tend to go, I'm human and I get distracted. And I'm like, I actually did the layout for the coffee labels that we had because I do all the layouts for all the stuff for the festival, all the graphic design stuff. So I have a tendency, my leanings tend to go to that. So rather than looking at, like you can imagine, looking at funding forms isn't as much fun as sitting there in Photoshop making little coffee labels.
Exactly.
And if I had to describe Jen's job in one task, is to her to remind me that your priority is in coffee labels, is getting funding application in. And so I said to her, it's like, I said, no, I can fill out the forms. You just need to remind me to go do that. Yeah.
It's funny because we have a very flat organization. I mean, we all kind of pitch in to do everything, but I'm the only person, I think, on the team that really has nothing to do with programming.
Yes.
So I have none of the fun stuff and all the whip cracking, like, fill out this paperwork.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
It's fun.
Actually, no, hold on. Jen, if you look at the photos from Niagara Falls Comic Con, she's had tons of fun. All I could see is I would look on Twitter and it would be like her with the Wonder Woman crown or whatever you want to call it on, and then she's like doing some fake fighting with someone like that too. So I'm upstairs running the panels and screenings, and Jen's downstairs getting some fake kung fu fight or something like that. And I'm looking at these photos, and I'm like, I didn't even know these people were there. And so don't let her fool you. She's having a blast.
I'll take that back a little bit. Despite the fact that I don't get to do all the fun programming stuff, I do run some of the social media accounts, and that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, that's because I'm noticing it's not just the festival. You are doing outside stuff, like with the coffee grounds, the conventions, as Jen says. These are outside organisms to Blood in the Snow. Mm-hmm. It's not just, okay, here's the films we're going to show, here's tickets, everybody buy tickets, and we're done.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, it's more so than just a film festival, I gotta be honest. It feels like a bit of a hub of the indie genre community, and we just kind of like put our fingers out into everything and say, come be part of our family.
The one thing I've noticed about this area, and I've said it since I got into it, is this area is a hub of passionate people working together. And you're 100% right. There, you have Black Fawn, and you have Blood in the Snow, and you have all these other groups. But with something like Blood in the Snow, like Jen said, it is a hub where people come together and they celebrate what they're doing. It's more of a celebration. There we go. That's the word I was trying to think. A celebration that that has a day, but lasts all year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's become almost a lifestyle for us, nothing like that too. Just like this kind of traveling band.
We didn't choose the Bits life.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like that. I mean, some of us are even tattooed with it. It's just sort of like, it really is that kind of, like, we are like this little gang kind of thing like that. And it's but we're like a family, right? It's just because it's kind of fun. I mean, it's really funny because it's like, because we have to kind of like, the things that you have to coordinate are things like literally who's sleeping in what room and where we're going to eat, because we've got vegans and we've got vegetarians and we've got hardcore meat eaters all on the, like, we have to figure out, just logistics like that. Who's driving with who's picking us up. And it's like, it's a really, I mean, we get along really great, considering, we're probably go on 3 hours sleep most nights, if at best. So
see, that might help. The lack of sleep may make things better.
No, I can attest to that. No.
Excellent. So how do things look for you this year, Jen? Like as far as everything going on, does it look like it's going to be a normal year or a chaotic year for you?
Always chaos, but it's always the best kind of chaos. I mean, you never really know what the year's going to throw at you. I mean, last year at Cineplex was chaos galore, to put it lightly, but it was also our funnest year so far. Our most successful year. Attendance was great and the crowds were great. And this year, as you know, we're moving to the Royal Cinema, which again, we're kind of back to square one in a sense that there's a lot of things that we planned for last year that are not applicable anymore. So it will be chaotic, but it will be fantastic and fun, and it will be the best year ever again.
Well, I mean, what the square one she's referring to too is that when you change venues, you also have to change everything else. Like where we have our panels, where we have our opening and closing parties. It kind of is it's sort of a chain reaction. It's not something that we take lightly moving, because because it affects dozens of other things. Like that. So it's kind of like, I'm hoping we're home for a while. My dream would be this would work out really well, and we're at the Royal for at least a few years. Yeah.
Well, because that's the nice thing too. People get used to an event at a place.
Yeah.
So when they finish the next year, they're already thinking, well, I'll stay here and I can eat here, and it's all in that area. So you're right. I mean,
that was the feeling I had after we did 3 years at the Carlton, and we did have that feeling. We just outgrew it, Our intention was to stay at Cineplex for quite a few years, but for a variety of reasons, it just wasn't the right fit for us. Certainly not from an attendance point of view. It just other logistical reasons. It just wasn't the best fit for us. So we approached the Royal, and it just felt a little bit more like us. And so I think I'm feeling optimistic we'll be there for a while.
And now we get to sit here with the boys from White Buffalo. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Shane, Andrew, and Andrew. I got to meet you guys 2 years ago now at Blood in the Snow with White Raven and She Who Must Burn. You guys came with both of those films. And I imagine you guys have been kind of busy since then, right?
Well, just finishing up White Raven, and just recently came out on iTunes in Canada. So it's been a bit of a process learning and how to do the deliverables and actually package a movie to get it ready to get it out to the masses. So it's been a lot of kind of business for the last year, I guess.
Well, that is a big part of film too, because everyone's going, oh, I want to make a movie, and you get the cameras and you get filming, and then the distribution comes along. And like you said, deliverables.
Yeah, and the thing with us is you're looking at the company right here. So there's only three of us. So, we did do a small amount of, as far as post-production, we had to farm out a bit of work for our mix and our color correction, but essentially we did everything else. So that's sort of the challenge, and you learn on the job.
So it's been a year and a half since we premiered White Raven at Bits, and can you just walk through some of the experiences that you had with the film since then, with festivals and then looking for distributors and things like that?
Right before Bits, we picked up right before Blood in the Snow. We signed with a distributor, Industry Works. They're out of Vancouver here, and so we really finished the film in time for that festival to screen it, and then we still had a bunch of deliverables to complete. And like I said, a lot of them we did ourselves, so it was pretty time consuming. The three of us are actors, and we're very active in the business out in Vancouver, as it is in Toronto is booming. So we were kept busy with that as well. So this guy had a baby along the way somewhere. So
you look good.
He lost all the weight, yeah. But so that's sort of what it took us a while to kind of get it all packaged and ready to go. In the meantime, our distributor was shopping it around for that time, and they finally sort of found a market for it in the States, and they're continuing to try and sell it in other territories.
But yeah, I guess the first sale was what we wanted to do first was just get the Canadian release.
So you have it on iTunes. Or what other? Are you looking at what other formats are you looking? Are you going to do a physical release anywhere for it, or just digital for the time being?
It doesn't sound like in Canada we're going to do DVDs or anything, but in the States, apparently that's a good way to go. Actually, we had a buddy that said that worked out really well. Nick
yeah, you guys know, Nick Schatzwitzky from Black Mountain Side. Yeah, they were. They said they've been pretty successful.
I think DVDs are still good in the States, but Canada not so much. I think it's just more spread out, and it'll go VOD and that kind of thing here.
I would agree with that sentiment. Yeah, most of I recently just got purchased copies of all the Bits titles that have physical release for my wall, and most of them had to go through the States. I find that there is still Canadian releases of it, but definitely it's more prevalent still in the States.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a whole new territory, I think, for us. Like, if you talk to somebody who made a film like 10 years ago, there was still blockbusters around, and now it's like there's platforms that are popping up all the time, and the game's just totally changed. So we're kind of learning as the whole scene kind of becomes apparent to everyone, I think, at the same time. So, I mean, you got to have it digital. Sorry, what?
Oh yeah, well I was just gonna say, I mean, you're not alone on that, because I mean I've talked to distributors, and I've literally seen distributors on panels at one festival, go to another panel with them on it 6 months later and tell me that the game has changed completely in that 6 months. I mean, that's how much it's really changed over the last 3-4 years.
We Dunbar and I were at Whistler in December for one of they have some really cool panels. Up there every year, and they had some pretty big Canadian distribution people and American, and it was amazing that they don't know what's going on. No. These are some of the biggest distribution companies in the country in North America.
Yeah, talking about Netflix and what kind of effect that's having, and how it's so crazy that nobody knows the stats.
And they were arguing with each other.
Yeah,
wow,
on the panel. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
well, it's almost like the streaming sites have become the new studios.
Yeah.
I was just at the BC Film and TV Awards last Sunday, the Leo Awards, and that's always kind of an interesting mix of projects, because there is a lot of American stuff and a lot of TV movie stuff, but also there is quite a bit of Indigenous film and web series and that kind of thing. And I know there's been a lot of talk about this sort of these middle class type films are kind of disappearing, right? That maybe in the 70s and 80s and 90s we had independent films, that is, and now they're kind of like there's no market for them anymore. And it is interesting to see how even the BC Awards have changed and what the films are that are coming up, and the sort of sentiment in the room. It is very interesting times, and I feel like there's a huge audience that still wants to see those kind of independent films, sort of like a White Raven, if you will. But we just haven't figured out how to deliver it to those people yet, because like you said, the big OTT companies like Amazon and Netflix, they even though they're producing a lot of stuff, it's mostly series, and they're just buying tentpole films to kind of fill out their roster, right? And so it's interesting. I feel like there's a really big market, even though a lot of people might disagree with me, because all those people like us that love these kind of independent, medium budget films, we're hungry for it. So like, how do we get it to them? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Well, that's why your film and She Almost Burned were very important for us to program, because I think those are that's the kind of cinema that frankly excites us the most, because because frankly it's, and I don't know if you were aware of it when you were making it, but I mean it's a hard film to market, right? Because it's not really a horror film. It's not really a drama either. Like, obviously you've heard this a million times, I'm sure, but that's kind of thing. And but from our perspective, that rather than it being a detriment, we are really excited about that. And we're kind of like playing, I think it's just a matter of finding those markets and those people. Certainly the audience that when we played it, we had, I think we had pretty good attendance and good fan reaction to both films. Clearly that, the audience liked it. And so it's just a question of finding that audience, right?
Other than, because they're at film festivals, but where do they watch their movies? You know?
Yeah.
They need a film festival platform.
That's the big thing. These festivals do show what you said, Andrew, that people want to see it. Like, it is still desirable. But now with the whole Netflix and Amazon and all that, does that change how you guys look at doing films?
Yeah, you're aware of it for sure. I mean, it's still at its base, it's still the simplest thing. You're just trying to tell a story with the people and the resources that you have and create a world and then just deliver it to people. But now that we've been through this last year of doing the deliverables this way and finding out about all these other platforms, it's something that I don't think you can kind of forget about when you're doing your next film. Like, we had a real crash course this year with that. And definitely for next, like, it's just like next time you do a film, you might want to have it pre-packaged or have it pre-sale done or have it guaranteed on a certain platform. All that kind of stuff is only going to help you. So the more you know, the better. But at its root, it's still just what excites us is just making a film and getting together and getting something like to a festival like you guys put on and showing people it.
Well, and what to add to that, I was going to say is being at those Leo Awards, I was seeing like a lot of my peers, and they'd completed films and they were up there being nominated and stuff, and I kind of got that. And when I see stuff happening at Bits and other festivals, I get that sort of itch to make some more content. But now that like Shane said, that we've been through this process, we made a movie for absolutely bare minimum. I can guarantee you that. Whatever the minimum is, we made it for that. Now we're like, okay, do we really want to do that again?
Yeah, you always want to, just that's why, I mean, me and Shane have always worked with writer-directors. With Larry, it was his vision, and we tried to, follow that. And Mox, same deal. That's why we love working with a writer-director, because it's not like something that's been produced from the outside and 7 people trying to sell a product. It's somebody trying to tell a story and they wrote it, and they're going to direct it and do it. So you take that into account, but like you also have to, after the last couple of years, knowing where we need to get the movie to, and it being easier to, sell if it's a specific genre, or like you said, we crossed genres and mixed with White Raven. It'd be easier if it was just a straight horror, but that's kind of not where we came from originally. We want to make films that we like, so we just kind of have to trust that if we like what we're making, there will be people out there that will like that as well, because we try and make something that somebody else wants is going to be a piece of shit, basically.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think it was the guy who, I can't remember his name, from Mongrel, he was at Whistler, and he kind of made a really important point. It was like, it's not so much that you change what you're creating, it's that you have an awareness from the moment of its inception that it has to go to market at some point. So at least if you have that in mind, which is something, of course, we never did before, and that's something we're trying to work on doing now, is saying, okay, so from day one, even though this is going to be a labor of love and it's going to be, a truthful story that doesn't cater to anyone, still we have to think about how we're going to market it eventually. And that's kind of something that we've learned, and I think we're trying to apply now.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right. Bye, guys.
And now we are lucky enough to be sitting here with Alysa King. How are you doing tonight, Alysa?
I'm great. How are you?
We are doing great, I think, so far. What do you think, Kelly?
Very good. Yeah, it's good. We're just coming off of Niagara Falls Comic Con. Are you recovering from that as well?
Yeah, that was such a cool experience. I have a confession to make. So that was my first Comic-Con ever.
Really?
Mm.
And so it was pretty neat to be kind of like part of it in a way. It was easy for me to get in this time because my picture was on their program.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. That was hilarious because what happened was, and here's the funny thing is that I didn't give them that photo. Like they put there, what happens is there was our full page ad, but then there's a little little square box that you'd have in the program booklet of it. And they happened to pick Alyssa's photo from Holy Hell in that. And the funny part is they didn't even know you were going to be a guest because you were a last minute addition. So it just worked out, some cosmic energy that kind of came together. And what happened was we had a pass for her, but you know, it's a big convention. There's 25,000 people there, and our team's running around. And while she was waiting to get in with her pass, we actually had a pass waiting for her, but she was waiting to get in. And then rather than wait, you just showed the booklet and went, look, here I am in the book.
Well, in my defense, I wasn't like being pushy or anything, but I was like, I talked to the VIP girl and I told her why I was there and everything. And she's like, okay. I'm like, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to come down and give me a pass. And she's like, okay. I'm like, I'll just wait right here. And I just was kind of like standing there waiting. And I think she felt bad for me. She's like, you know, like, is there anything I can do or anybody I can talk to? I was like, well, I'm in the program. Like, I'm supposed to be here. She's like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? We'll just give you a stamp. Don't worry about it. Like, obviously your face is on it. So like, I trust you're supposed to be here. So yeah, she just kind of gave me a stamp and let me in.
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah,
so,
she was super nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So what'd you think of the convention?
Now it's a story.
Sorry.
It was cool. It was really neat. I didn't realize so many like people would be there. Saw Tara Reid, so that was kind of neat. Said hi. And it was huge. Like there was a ton of people coming and going, like a ton of merch and everything.
Mm. It's become like big business now. Like there were like, I don't know if you realize, Alysa, how much they're selling these autographs for, but like some of the bigger names, they're selling them for $100 a piece.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I didn't see. I saw that Tara Reid was selling pictures. You like had to pay to take a selfie with her, and
oh yeah.
And people are getting a steal of a deal. I'm signing stuff for free.
Well, see, I confess, I went and got my photo taken with Peter Mayhew because Star Wars is my life, and that was $80.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's Chewbacca.
Yeah.
It's a neat way to connect with fans kind of directly, and the great thing about the Comic-Con crowd is they just want physical stuff. They want to have autographs, they want to have photos, they want to have like they just wanted even just the bits we had these postcards that had the lineup on it, and they just not one person turned it down. We would hand them out in line, and we handed out 500 postcards in probably 20 minutes. Because every single person wanted to keep it. I mean, they just love collecting stuff. It's a really unique group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was neat people coming up to the desk and just like chit-chatting with me because they're like, oh, like the one lady was like, oh, my son's such a huge fan of horror films. And like, you know, she got me to address it to her son. And I wrote like a little message. And it was just like neat to talk to people. Like they saw the posters and everything and all the bits promotional stuff that we had, and they were like they really wanted to engage with you about the film. So.
Right. So have you found that in general, like if that's just going over some of your bigger indie films, Better the Dead, Holy Hell, Berkshire County, like have you been finding? I know they're just starting to get released now, but have you finding that the fans are kind of engaging you like that?
I find that through social media, fans will engage with me. Yeah. But that was like being at Comic-Con, being at a place where people can see, okay, yeah, that's her movie, and yeah, that's the lead actress. Like, then they want to kind of like come up and talk to you about the film. But like, it's different. It's hard to say because like really my only opportunity to engage with fans is through social media or through events at say Comic-Con or at Bits, you know, during the screenings, and that's when people will really want to come up and talk about it with me.
Right. I've always been curious about that. Did you find when because you've had two films play Bits, and then you've had, you know, films like Better the Dead that's played After Dark and Fantasia, do you have a lot of interaction with people after the screening? Are they a little intimidated, or do you find that people come up to you?
I find that people will come up to me after screenings and everything. Sometimes people just say like, a little quick 2 words. But I find there's at film festivals like that, there are a lot of filmmakers that want to talk with you.
Mm-hmm. Have you gotten cast from being at a film festival? Because I've talked to a few actors where that's really been their calling card. They've played a film play, and then that's either led to a role or at least an audition.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I would say that my involvement with Berkshire County and BITS led to a lot of connections in the industry. Mm-hmm. It led to, like, Berkshire County led to me being cast in Slasher.
Okay.
That's on Canadian Netflix right now and US. But essentially, they were looking at Audrey Cummings, the director, and they watched Berkshire County, and then they liked me, and I guess they asked the casting director to bring me in for a role.
I haven't actually seen Slasher yet. What's that all about?
The premise of the show, so it's an 8-episode miniseries, and the premise of the show is that a woman goes back to her hometown after like 20 years, and her mother and father had been murdered kind of horrifically when she was just a baby. And she goes back to her hometown where this all happened. It's pretty like infamous type thing. And some bad things start happening again when she comes back.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
When did they film Slasher?
It came out last year, but I shot it the year before in like October, November, and then it came out last year. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's like Kelly said, a lot of this stuff is now trickling out, like now.
Yeah. I lose track of when I film things, how many years ago it was, and then when it actually comes out. It's all a big blur to me.
Well, but at the same time, it's interesting because even though they were done quite spread apart, if you look at it, I talked to Ryan LaPlante, and he said that Holy Hell is going to be coming out on DVD and stuff soon. I'm assuming Ben of the Dead has a release date pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Berkshire County is finally out here in Canada now, and it's already out in the U.S. So it's kind of interesting for you personally. It's kind of a big bottleneck. And then you mentioned Slashers on Netflix. So you've got quite a few things all kind of coming out at the same time.
Yeah, it's all kind of like I found last year was like a big year because Slasher came out, Ben of the Dead premiered, Holy Hell premiered. Like it was kind of a lot of things at once last year, and now things are coming out. Now it's kind of like the second wave of that. So now it's like stuff is coming out on DVD this year.
So just to take a step back, like when did you get in? How long have you been acting now? Like give us a little bit of a background of like when you got started and how you got to where you're at right now.
So I got started when I was like a baby. My mom put me in like kid modeling and commercials and stuff. I did like beauty pageants as a baby. I was in like Kmart magazines and Chrysler commercials.
Wow. You go really far back. Yeah.
Yeah, super far back. But then my mom took me out of it when I started going to school full time. So once I was in grade 1, she pulled me out of it. And then apparently I loved it though. So the addiction started at a young age. So I started getting back into doing it non-professionally in high school and like musical theater and community theater stuff. And then went through school, went to university, did theater all throughout university, but I was kind of in denial about the fact that I was going to be an actor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a real person and have a real job and like be a teacher and, you know, have a normal life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you saw the camera and went, oh yeah, right. No.
Yeah. Well, it was like once I graduated, I kind of had this quarter life crisis. And had a moment where I was like, do I want to get to the end of my life and look back on it and be like, I wonder how far I could have gone. I wonder, I just didn't want to look back on my life and wonder what if. So I was like, okay, I just got to stop. I just got to do this.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it professionally probably about 5 years. Yeah. So.
Right. So what do you define would be like your breakthrough part? Like what was the thing that kind of went, okay, now I'm on my way?
I would say that was Berkshire County.
Yeah.
That kind of put me on the map in Toronto.
Right.
And like you said, that's the one that got you noticed for Slasher, and then, well, I keep looking at Holy Hell, but that one, like you said, you've known Ryan a while.
Oh, well, all that while I was going to school and university, I went with Ryan. So we've known each other since like 2005, I think.
Okay.
But did you shoot Holy Hell first though, and then Berkshire County? Is that the time? Do I have the timeline right, or is it all a blur?
So Berkshire County was first, and then Holy Hell was pretty much almost right after. And I shot this other film that never really hasn't come out. I'm not sure what's happening with it. It was called Dead Rivalry, and now it's called Tale of Two Killers. And I don't know if it's ever going to get released, but I shot that one in between Holy Hell. That's why my hair changes colors a bunch.
Okay. That's got to be one of the hardest parts being on the independent level like that, is you do projects. I think I talked to Robert Nolan about this. You do all these projects and then you hope they come out. Because unfortunately at this level, you run out of funds or...
Yeah. And actually, for people listening, that happens more times than you'd realize. Like there's quite a few projects, and it's probably the number one frustrating thing for both cast and crew of the work on a project, and they just be in post-production limbo or whatever, for a variety of reasons that they literally don't see the light of day. I know certain films that we've kept an eye on that we thought we would consider for Blood in the Snow, and I don't know if they'll ever get finished. It's really kind of crazy.
Well, it was unfortunate with this film because I thought it was a really great script and it was a really neat character for me, and they lost one of their cards, eh? Yeah,
you mean like the backup of the film?
Yeah, like the footage. They lost a chunk of footage, and they couldn't go back and reshoot it. They wanted me to be a redhead for this film, so I had like red hair and everything, and I had already gone back, and I think there just wasn't the funds to go and reshoot it. Oh wow! Unfortunately. But the people that worked on the project were awesome, and so I mean, I hope it sees the light of day someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know with Robert, he said about a third of his career you'll never see because of that, and that does hurt. But you hope, because you said everything deserves to see the light of day. Everything deserves to be watched.
I'm gonna disagree with you there.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Maybe that.
I'm with Alysa. There's a couple of films that I've seen where I went, they really should have just took that as a learning curve. And
yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I've been in that if they never pop up on a talk show, when I get years down the road, I'll be happy.
Okay, I will stand corrected on that one. Wow. So have you been active lately? Like, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so I've actually been working on developing some of my own projects, which is pretty cool. We just shot a short recently called Life Alarm. And it was a really neat experience for me because it was my first time. Like, it's not like I haven't worn other hats for indie productions and stuff, but this was my first time having the official title of producer. So I was one of the producers on the shoot, and I was actually part of the creative team, which was a ton of fun and a really great experience for me. And so we shot that short a week and a half ago, and yeah, we have a concept for a feature for it. So if this short can get some traction, then who knows where it's going to go.
Excellent. Now,
I think that's a great angle to go with, Alysa, because I see so many. I mean, one thing is I've had my hand in different pies, and one thing I don't think I would ever do the acting thing for the very reason that, you're always waiting for the phone to ring, and your fate always seems to be with somebody else. And I think one thing, if I've given any advice to independent actors, especially female actors, because it's so easy to be sexualized or have your image manipulated in a way maybe that's not the way that you want to be portrayed. I've said over and over, I think we need more female directors and producers and writers too. If the more you have that, the more control you have over your destiny and kind of thing like that. And so I think it's really, especially on the indie level, I think it's really important to have that, so you can keep things going, and so that you can keep working, and also to have a little bit more control over the kind of projects that you do.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And actually, it's funny because there's a moment that definitely could have been like more sexualized in terms of like something that I had to do in the short. And we all agreed on a different way of showing what we needed to show. So
that's perfect.
As opposed to having somebody else make a decision for me, right? Like, it was awesome to have that creative control, because in my opinion, and other people agreed, like the moment wasn't about that.
Right.
So.
Whereas on the other hand, you're not afraid to mix it up. I mean, under the right circumstances, because I mean, that's what's so fun about Holy Hell. I mean, it's like there is a lot, there's a lot more skin and a lot more things going on in that movie, say, compared to Berkshire County or even Better the Dead. But I think everyone's in on the joke, and then kind of
that role needed that though.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, it was a joke. Like, me and Ryan were having a hilarious time. Like, half of those outfits were my own concoction. Like, well, basically, he came at me with the idea, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be sitting down the whole time, so I'm going to be wearing high-waisted shorts, and also I need a special kind of bra. But I was like, what if we put, like a ripped shirt that you can see the bra through the bottom, and, like, I don't know. I just kind of was coming up with these ideas that were just so ridiculous that they made me laugh.
But that's just it. That movie is an over-the-top movie. And like you said, that's where it applies. Whereas normal, like I'm guessing you're short, it's more about the story-driven. I was just going to say, and that's great when you can get that control over those kind of aspects of a film, and not rely on someone else, and not have to worry about what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kelly's right. That's why when you get into the production side of it, you have a little bit more control, and you can create your own projects. Mm-hmm. You don't sit and wait by that phone.
Exactly. Yeah, because you really have to create your own opportunities. And I feel like I'm in one of the most competitive categories in terms of being an actor, like being a female between 20 to 30. Like,
I got to say, that's why it's beautiful that you did the two different types of film that I've seen, because I've seen Holy Hell and I've seen Better the Dead. And they are completely different films with completely different characters. And you are not the same person in those films. Whereas,
well, I think
but some of the people that I have seen, it's that person in a different setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important. I'm very anxious to see Berkshire County just for that. I want to see what kind of person you are in that film.
Yeah, that one, I think, that one is, they're all very different films, right? Like, all very different characters, that's for sure. And recently I've been getting out of horror and doing comedy and stuff too. So it's kind of like all over the place. Yeah.
Well, no, you're like, frankly, really, I don't know if by design or that's luck, but that's really, because my trajectory, Robert, for Alysa was Berkshire County and then Holy Hell and then Better the Dead. And so in Berkshire, like, there's this whole thing of like, the film starts off, not to give too much away, but it starts off with this kind of scandal that goes on at the high school. And so Alyssa's character is very much kind of like, she's a good girl, but got herself in a bad situation for being exploited in her high school. And then to go from that to the insanity that's holy hell, I think I did a double take and went, is this the same actress? Like, I was quite in shock, actually. I could, until I saw it, I couldn't have pictured you doing that role. Because, you just get your head in your head of like a certain kind of role. And then I think Better the Dead was a bit more down the middle because I like that too. Because it starts, it's more of a regular person, but at the same time, it starts off with him going to a swing club. So there's that kind of thing too as well. So, yeah.
To be honest, I probably would have never done Holy Hell if I wasn't such good friends with Ryan, because it's so crazy. Like, I think it's hilarious because I'm actually, my sense of humor is really bad. Like, I don't really have a line.
Filters are a little overrated. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like, I always tell people it's like that movie is Team America World Police meets Hobo with a Shotgun.
That's a good, I think that would be a good comparison of it. And you're right. I think it has to do, it's not just execution dependent, but also, filmmaker dependent. I think it's kind of like you said, anyone who's met Ryan, the director, he doesn't have a harsh bone in his body. He's got a great sense of humor about what he does and how he does things. And so I think in a way I've actually enjoyed the movie more now that I've met him.
Yeah.
I know I have.
Yeah, I kind of do. Because when he kind of injects his own self-deprecating attitude about the film, I actually kind of enjoy it more because if you watch it thinking that the filmmaker who made it took it seriously, you might not enjoy it as much as someone who's taking, knows that they're in on the joke.
I agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Like, once you know that the actors and the director, like, we just set out to make something that people would have a laugh, and that was like over the top outrageous, and that that's what it's meant to be, and it's not meant to be taken seriously. You are in on the joke.
Well, it was kind of cool because when I prepared for bits, I was watching Holy Hell. I had a friend of mine over to watch it with me, and she loved it. Like, she absolutely loved that film. Came with me to Niagara Falls Comic Con, and we came into the Meet the Film thing, and you and Ryan were standing there talking. And I said to her, so you want to go talk to him for a second? She goes, well, who are they? And it's like, that's the Holy Hell crew right there. That's Father Bane. And she said, no way. They look nothing like the characters. I said, well, that's
so funny. It was because I had a shirt on, wasn't it?
I think that's what it was. You were dressed. It just totally threw her off.
Fully clothed,
And he wasn't in a smock.
Circle when you're 40 years from now, when you're doing the Fan Expo autograph signings of these anniversaries of it, they'll be putting you out in those old outfits, and you'll have to sign in those.
Oh God, no! I will not look the same.
Hey, you never know. You look at Barbara Eden, and there are miracles. So.
Oh, that's true. Get a little HGH or whatever.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. But thank you so much for.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kelly.
On that note, do you have anything else to add, Robert? Or
I was just going to say, is there anything you want to bring up, Alysa?
I did a guest star role in a new comedy series coming out. I think that got picked up for Bell 5 called Fair Trade. So figured I'd give them a plug. I believe their Instagram and social media stuff is Fair Trade Show. Fair is an FARE trade show.
Okay.
And Life Alarm is the short that I just did. And my social media stuff is at Alysa King, ALYSAKING.
Sweet.
Everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, .com.
Now, I know you said you just wrapped on the short, but do you have a projection on when you hope to have it done?
We're actually aiming to have it done fairly soon, by the fall, I think. Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll see.
Okay, definitely keep my eyes open for that.
Yeah. Well, we always enjoy following your career, and we'll keep us updated on what your next adventures are.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, guys. Good to see you. Or talk to you, I guess.
Yes. Well, for another week I guess week 1, another day at Bits Radio. We'll talk to you later.
Join us next time for Blood in the Snow Radio. Bits Radio is a production of Three Evil Cats Productions in association with the Blood in the Snow Canadian Film Festival. For more information and to listen to other episodes, visit bloodinthesnow.ca and tweet us at BitsFilmFest. Music by Jen Gorman, produced and edited by Kelly Michael Stewart. I am Eduardo Correa Lima. Till next time.